For our last talk, we will have Constantin, and I hope I'm pronouncing it Berthelier. Sounds good. He will be presenting us Forget Everything You Know About NPCs and World Building. For me, this is the most interesting topic of the day because he will be showing us how to use AI to populate your virtual worlds and of how they are transforming the future of NPCs and immersive environments in his company, ARD AI. Arda.
Thank you. All right, thank you for the quick introductions. There's a lot to unpack here. So this talk is called Forget Everything You Know About AI NPCs. Does everybody knows what an NPC is? Non-playable character, right? So about me, only because I enjoy talking about myself, I'll give a quick introduction. My name is Constantin Berthelier. So I've been a narrative designer for about more than 10 years in the game industry. So I covered everything story for various games. My first gig was a crime game on Facebook, back when gaming on Facebook was actually a thing. Then I moved to romance, lots of romance I did for a small studio in Tokyo. I've made my own romance game in the middle, seduction stories. Didn't pan out very well. Thank you, Nanobit, for taking the whole market. And more romance in Gameloft and Tic-Tails, and I did some console games for Miraculous. If you have kids, I'm sure you know it. And more recently, I worked on an RPG that is a Web3 RPG, and we'll come back to that later. Right, the schedule for this talk is my own journey into working with AI NPCs, a quick overview on the scene about who does AI NPCs and how they do it, and how we came to develop our own solution at ARDA, and also I'll give you from my little crystal ball, my vision on the future. Right, so the journey takes us back to 2 years ago. I was giving, during a job interview, an impossible assignment. I was asked, how would you give voice to thousands of characters by myself, only me? And I remember struggling a bit, but I remember mentioning the Nemesis system, so the Nemesis system being a praised way to draw narratives, and that system worked in one game actually, that is Shadow of Mordor, from the Lord of the Rings universe. So what the Nemesis system is very good at is that it can fetch any metric from the game, from your course of your gameplay, and draw narratives from it. So for example, if you kill this orc for about 10 times and he comes back to life again, he will have a specific line about just that. And it could draw narratives on clockwork precision level, and the journey in the game was never the same if you played it once, twice, or 3 times. So that was amazing. So I thought I would work on a similar system for Cloudborne, the game that we were developing, and somehow I got the job. And so, yeah, I remember working on such a system, but again, I was alone. It was just myself. And as I was developing the solution, I thought I'm never going to be able to do it. Even though I gave significant effort, I was thinking I need to populate the whole world, and Cloudborne was classic RPG, so many layers of narratives, everything was fictional, and so it still sounded like an impossible assignment. And I developed storylines for the characters that you play as, but also for the NPCs. But yeah, in my head I was really struggling. I was waiting for a solution, and that solution happened. What happened was something called ChatGPT-3 that you might have heard of. And when I first used it, I immediately clicked. I thought, okay, this is maybe the answer to that initial problem of giving voice to virtually infinite number of characters. So I've looked for solutions to integrate ChatGPT-3 in our game, but it was a bit difficult, and also I was alone, and all the rest of the team were dedicated to making the game, so I was pretty limited. So I looked for tools to integrate that, and I eventually found one. This American startup called InWorld, it just popped up on my YouTube feed, and it was ready. You just downloaded the SDK, and then voila, you were talking AI NPCs inside the game. And we did that. We did integrate this solution into our game. So this is me here. I have this video online. If you're curious, I can share it with you. And I'm having a natural conversation with one of our characters. And it was very rewarding. There was a lot of excitement around it. Actually, the integration went so well that InWorld invited us at GDC from this year, and we showed the demo with 2 talking characters to the crowd at GDC, and the crowd from GDC was very various, ranging from just students to AI researchers from Square Enix, Sony, Amazon, and it went really well. Actually, it went so well that when I got back home, I was interviewed by a journalist from Le Figaro being the second biggest media outlet that we have in La France. And the journalist was also struggling. She was struggling to find AI game devs that integrated AI for their games. And so I could sense a bit of fear already around those tools. And also thanks to this article, finally my grandmother knows what I do for a living, which is great. So what did I learn from GDC? First, AI NPCs are unknown to the public. I was really surprised. I would assume that people coming to GDC were pretty familiar with those solutions, but no. It was pretty novel, even from people from Square Enix, so that was great. And second, they loved it. Every single person who tried the game enjoyed sitting down and talking to our characters, and it felt great. It was really rewarding. So let me take a step back and give you a very quick overview at the scene of who does what in this space. So we have InWorld, we have also Conway, who's pretty similar. We have Charisma AI, who's in England, and they've been around for a while. They have worked with NPCs even before ChatGPT 2, they said, with NLP, so that's very interesting. And we have Replica, and a company in French, which I like. They don't do live AI voice conversation, but they draw narratives, leveraging AI to draw narrative tools, which I think is pretty good. What else do we know? We know that Square Enix is looking hardly onto AI, and we know this because of this book they released last summer, in which the whole R&D department has wrote significant and high-quality content about their research, and I'm slowly but surely translating and studying it, because obviously it's only in Japanese. You wouldn't expect Japan to share anything. I mean, buying Japanese music is a quest in itself, so AI knowledge? Yeah, no. We know that Ubisoft is looking also. They have a department called La Forge, and they were also at GDC with a non-playable demo. Ours were playable anyway. So now what? With all this fear that I mentioned from the journalist and talking to fellow narrative designers, there is a fear and there's always that question. Now that we have these tools, anyone in this room is a potential very good writer. That's true. It feels like with those AI tools, we have the power of the sun in the palm of your hand. So what's going to happen? Or narrative designers like myself are going to simply disappear. Answer to that is yes and no. But what is sure is that writers are now supercharged. Like I said, any one of you can produce a very high-quality standard text in a minute on your phone right now. This is the truth. It is the status of where we are now. I have an example to illustrate that. That's another job interview I got in April 2022 from a Chinese studio that had just settled in Paris. And I was given this assignment. So let me read it to you. As a test, you will invent the backstory of this woman character displayed here. And I did that. I remember spending 2 days writing 3 pages to try and figure out this character. But look at the text. Doesn't it look like a prompt? What would you do today? You would upload the image, copy-paste this little text here, and you will have a pretty good result with it. But you would want to draw this character the way you want, right? And I did that for 2 days. I was world building around the character because you cannot figure out a character if you don't world build about her background, right? So I tie that back to the initial problems we had with those AI NPCs that we showed off at GDC. They were very good. Everyone enjoyed them, but they were pretty limited because the backend for every character was pretty limited. They had their own set of knowledge, and there were very little knowledge that they shared with one each other. The other problem was there were only 2. So I was far ahead. I mean, I was away really far from getting those thousands of characters I was supposed to give life to, right? So the problem we have is that these AI NPCs companies, and the way they exist now, are just giving you access to the tip of the iceberg, right? So the problem we have is that, and our conclusion with this problem is that AI NPCs should maybe not where you start. And what these AI companies do to this day is always add more features to their AI NPCs. They go always onto action, and to my opinion, from what I've seen, nothing that OG AI cannot do. So that's the situation we have. AI NPCs as they are today are very enjoyable for about 15 minutes, but everyone in this room, if you talk to an AI NPC, after a while you will realize that the character talks in circles, and it's really not going anywhere. So what do we need to do? AI NPCs are empty vessels. They're a bit sad, right? And we need to fix them. So how do we do that? So working on Cloudborne, I went to Keina, our engineer, and I said, Keina, we need to flip the iceberg, right? We need to move the island, Jack. So that's what we're doing. We have flipped the iceberg. This is where you start usually, at the bottom, but actually you need to start up there. You need to world build your whole world before generating any character. And look at this. Doesn't it look like a lot of work? So it looks like we're going to need people to do this work, right? It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. So this is my other answer to my previous questions. Are narrative designers going to disappear? Well, no, because we're going to need more world builders, maybe less carpenters and more cathedral builders, right? So we like to think that a new generation of content creators and storytellers is waiting for the right tools to be adopted. And yeah, everyone to this day is a potential storyteller, as I've said before. I tied that to a quote from Swiss director Jean-Luc Godard, which I like. He said once, with mobile phones and everything, everyone is now an auteur. And I remember this quote was part of a longer interview, and it was not specifically about camera phones, but more about digital cameras. You remember digital cameras when they became affordable? The whole world went into playing around with them, and everyone created their own little movies. That was even before YouTube, or we created their world they liked, and we went from fan fiction to fan films. And it was a huge thing. So one thing I didn't mention myself is that I'm obsessed with one video game, that's Resident Evil. So if you don't know Resident Evil, very briefly, it's a Japanese horror game with girls and guns fighting zombies in old estates. And when I got a digital camera, what do you think I did? I've directed my own little Resident Evil movie. This is me, 19, I think, with a digital camera behind, and I am directing my own movie. I could take this world and remix it the way I wanted it, right? And all it took was some clay and ketchup, some friends stupid enough to follow me in this stupid adventure, and I had my dad to paint this thing, and yeah, the film exists. I could do it. I had the power to do it. Don't look for it. You'll never find it. Anyway, what's happening today with AI is that we have once again this newfound freedom, like I said, for storytellers and world builders. But it's still a bit like a magma. We need the proper tools to channel all this energy. And one question will always remain, and that everyone in this room has the power of the sun in the palm of their hands. One question remains: what is your story? What is your message? What is your style? What are you trying to contribute to the world? Either you create your own world, or you're going to take your world that you like and remix it. Like anyone with AI tools soon can create their own little Harry Potter stories in which he gets married with Cho Chang instead of boring Ginny, right? So this is why I introduce Ada. From all this reflection, this is the conclusion of our reflections with Keina. And we are building this, what we think is the world's first AI-powered world engine. And it already is implemented. You can see me here talking with one of the characters that we had for Cloudborne. And this time it's very different because this character, for example, has its own background, but it's also shared with a bigger pool of knowledge about the whole world. Also, every conversation is a weaving of many intricate aspects, and the character talks to you as the person you want to be. You're not just a user behind a computer. You can also be a person in the world and have proper agency into it. So the very foundation of our tool is structured world knowledge. It's got AI NPCs carrying the full knowledge of their world, like I said. And if you build a proper and rich enough pool of knowledge, you can mass character generation. This is something that is already working as I speak to you in our solution. You can airdrop knowledge bits from character level to group level or for the whole world. For example, if you want a specific group of people to be aware of a menace from another world, for example, you can airdrop it manually. And last but not least, since our parent company is Chromaway and their property blockchain is Chromia, we can write every single change to your world onto the blockchain. We like to think that we are paving the way for an intelligent future. I'm personally convinced that teenagers, like I was myself a teenager, failing school because I was too obsessed with my little movie, is waiting with all the energy, and we like to think that we're going to provide the right tool to do so. And last but not least, it's playable. Go see K9 is our engineer. We have an exclusive demo for DSC that is called Shadows of Our City. It's a noir crime story in which you can talk in a voice-to-voice conversation with 3 suspects from a crime story, and we could generate that game that is based on the world foundations that we've developed together, and from that we could draw story arcs, characters, and knowledge bricks, meaning every single suspect have their own specific knowledge, and they know stuff that the other doesn't. This is pretty much it. Please reach out if you're looking for cool chatbots, a unique adventure, and if you think we can revolutionize the world building and story making together, and or if you're a game studio and just want to empower your pipeline. I thank you. Be glad to take some questions. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for listening.
I have a question. What exactly is Arda? Is it a game engine? Is it some SDK that you can inject into a Unity or?
Yeah, more like it. It's a dashboard. It's a side companion to develop your world. And yes, you can inject that into an engine. It's already working with Unity.
And do you plan to support other engines in future, or?
I would love to, yeah, absolutely. I would love to go other engines and also platforms. I would love to break the covenant of platforms as they are now, yeah, and inject it with life.
Thanks.
A video game player, but not anymore. So I liked your presentation because I feel like there might be a good use case for sales and marketing application of what you presented. So can you share like maybe something about that, because I feel like that could definitely help a lot in marketing processes. Yeah.
You got a huge point here. Yes, absolutely. We are exploring marketing, educational aspects of it, even companionship. Like I told you, I have a strong background in romance, so we know now that people love to engage with stories involving romance or friendship. But going back to your case, yes, this is strictly something absolutely something we're exploring. To me, world building can be about anything, and any marketing department in the world will tell you that narrative is the central point. So any narrative or world around the product, around the service, around education can be made. So we can absolutely address that, yeah.
Also NSW type of stuff. Not safe for work. I'm not going to elaborate.
I told
there,
you, yeah, companionship. Of
yeah.
course, I meant AI girlfriends and boyfriends, of course.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hi. The AI you're using, is it cloud-based or local LLM? on the machines?
Um,
How is it implemented?
yeah, maybe can I want to take that? Yeah, it's yeah,
Ah, okay, thank you.
yeah. Any more questions? Don't ask about my Resident Evil movie. No, that's forbidden.
If you set cloud-based, is the engine, is it cloud-based, or even if you inject it into Unity, you have to be connected to the cloud to play it?
Yes, you have to be connected to the cloud. We are exploring the in-device options that we want to have, but currently is all cloud-based.
So basically, it's APIs around the ChatGPT or something other.
Currently, we are using ChatGPT, but we are model abstract. We are abstract in terms of the model, so we plan on having our own model for each part of the processes. But yeah, everything is accessible through API. Thanks. And to answer the question of the engines, we are supporting Unity now, but we plan on supporting Unreal, JavaScript SDK, in terms of platforms, something like Roblox as well. So,
yeah. I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Did you have any instances where the AI NPC hallucinates information?
Oh yeah.
How did you manage to clear that, or does it make any problems?
Yeah, so it happened when we started. It got way better. Of course, and it always goes back to the same problem. If you look, LLMs are starving for context. If you leave it starving and hungry for more knowledge, it will start going Shakespeare. So this is the basic. This is the true nature of our solution. You need to feed the beast as much as you can and be very granular. And once you think this is rich enough, you can press the magic button, and it will hallucinate way less. But it got better in time. 2 years ago, it was majorly different. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
hallucination. We allow you to prompt you can inject your own prompts into the pipeline, but we also input our own prompts to prevent stuff like that. So we also handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, then thank you, Constantin. Thank you very much. Here you go.
I am. Yeah. Thank you. I would just say that I'm absolutely happy to be here. I'm absolutely happy to visit Serbia.
Mm-hmm.
I've had Serbia in my heart since forever. So thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us.